PK Kemsley is officially out of time, and the $20 million settlement clause that just leaked proves his entire life is a lie. This is not a rumor or a theory because the forensic evidence shows that the House has finally called in its markers. For years, PK has performed a high-wire act while pretending to be a billionaire tycoon. But the paper trail reveals a much darker reality. The truth is that PK Kemsley's entire lifestyle was built on a foundation of predatory debt and offshore gambling ledgers that have finally caught up to him. The leaked documents show a $20 million settlement clause that acts as a financial death warrant for his remaining assets. This settlement is the smoking gun that proves he's been using cross-collateralization to fund a life he could never actually afford. The receipts show that his corporate holdings were being used as a piggy bank to pay off massive casino losses in Las Vegas. This is the moment where the mask falls off and the world sees PK for who he really is. The evidence is cold, and the numbers do not lie about the total career meltdown happening right now. PK Kemsley is no longer the man in charge because the banks and the casinos own every single piece of his name. The first half of this financial disaster begins with the secret settlement that was never supposed to see the light of day. The $20 million clause is part of a larger agreement with a major Las Vegas casino group that has been hunting PK for years. The contract proves that PK was given massive lines of credit based on assets that he did not actually own outright. When he could not pay back the markers, the casino triggered a clause that allowed them to go after his business equity. This is called cross-collateralization, and it is the fastest way to lose everything you have worked for in a single night. The forensic audit shows that PK was moving money between offshore accounts to keep the creditors at bay. But the casinos have better investigators than the government, and they found the money trail. The leaked documents reveal that PK signed away his rights to his management companies and his real estate interests just to keep his name out of the headlines. This desperate move only bought him a few months before the entire structure started to crumble. Now the public can see the exact mechanism used to liquidate his remaining equity under these strict mandates. The truth is finally out, and there is no way for PK to spin this as a win. The scale of this $20 million debt is almost impossible for a normal person to wrap their head around. It represents a level of gambling and financial mismanagement that goes beyond simple mistakes. The receipts show that PK was living on borrowed time while using his fame to secure more loans. He used his professional image to convince partners that he was still a heavy hitter in the business world. But behind the scenes, the emails show that he was begging for extensions on his debt payments. The casino settlement proves that he was backed into a corner with no way out except to surrender his soul to the House. The documents show that every time he walked into a high-stakes room, he was betting with money that belonged to his creditors. This is the ultimate betrayal of trust, and the legal fallout is going to be felt for decades. The truth is that the $20 million is just the tip of the iceberg because the interest alone is eating him alive. The contract reveals that if he misses even one payment, the casino has the right to take over his personal residence and all of his luxury vehicles. This is not a legal battle he can win because he already signed the confession in the form of this settlement. The second half of this war shows exactly how the hero of this story, which is the hard evidence, finally won the day. For too long, PK Kemsley was able to hide behind high-priced lawyers and non-disclosure agreements. But the leaks have changed everything because the public now has the actual forensic links to his offshore ledgers. These ledgers show a pattern of deceit that started years ago in the United Kingdom. Before he was a reality star, PK was a businessman who went through one of the biggest bankruptcies in British history. The documents prove that he learned how to hide assets from that experience, and he tried to use those same tricks in America. But the modern financial system is much harder to manipulate than the one he left behind. The witness statements from former employees show that PK was constantly juggling funds to make payroll while losing millions at the tables. These employees describe a man who was obsessed with maintaining his status, even as his bank accounts hit zero. The receipts show that he was even using brand deal money to pay off his bookies before his family ever saw a cent. This is the level of manipulation that the villain of this story has been practicing for years. The war between PK and his creditors is finally coming to a head because the cross-collateralization defaults have been triggered. This means that as soon as one debt went unpaid, it caused a domino effect that took down all of his other businesses. The legal filings show that his management company is currently being hollowed out by debt collectors. Every contract he has signed for his clients is being scrutinized to see if there is any money left to seize. The truth is that PK has become a liability to everyone he touches because his financial rot is contagious. The forensic audit shows that he tried to shift his assets into his wife's name to protect them, but the courts are not buying it. The documents prove that these transfers were fraudulent and intended to cheat the people he owed money to. The hero in this situation is the team of forensic accountants who tracked the money through 3 different countries to find where it was hidden. Their work has vindicated every person who claimed that PK was a fraud from the beginning. The truth is finally out, and the villain is currently in a state of total professional liquidation. The narrative of PK Kemsley's downfall is a warning to anyone who thinks they can outsmart the system. The $20 million settlement clause is a permanent record of his failure and his deceit. The receipts show that he was never the genius businessman he claimed to be on television. Instead, he was a man who was addicted to the thrill of the gamble and the high of the lie. The documents show that he was willing to risk his family's future just to stay in the game for one more night. But the game is over, and the house has taken everything, including his reputation. The emails show that his former partners are now cooperating with the investigation to save themselves from his sinking ship. They are providing the texts and the voice memos that prove PK knew exactly what he was doing when he signed those predatory loans. There is no redemption for a man who uses his friends and family as collateral for his own greed. The total career meltdown is the only logical conclusion for a man who built his empire on a stack of unpaid markers. The cost of PK Kemsley's lies is finally being calculated, and the total is more than he can ever pay back. The forensic links between his offshore gambling and his asset-backed loans are undeniable proof of his guilt. The truth is that he was a predator who preyed on the trust of everyone around him. The leaked settlement clause is the final nail in the coffin of his public image. No one will ever look at him the same way again because they know the $20 million truth. The documents show that he is currently being evicted from his office space and his staff has walked out because the checks are bouncing. This is what happens when the villain of the story finally runs out of other people's money to spend. The evidence is clear and the receipts are public for the whole world to see. PK Kemsley thought he was the smartest man in the room, but he was actually just the loudest. Now the room is empty and the lights are being turned off because he could not pay the bill. The legal battle is moving into its final phase as the assets are being sold off to the highest bidder. The court records show that PK is no longer in control of his own finances because a trustee has been appointed to oversee his life. Every dollar he earns from now on will go directly to the casinos he tried to cheat. The truth is that he is now a servant to the debt he created through his own arrogance. The forensic audit shows that there is no path back to wealth for a man with this many enemies in the banking world. His name has been blacklisted from every major financial institution and his credit is non-existent. The documents prove that he has no choice except to accept his fate as a cautionary tale for the ages. The hero of this story is the truth, which has finally been liberated from the mountain of lies PK tried to bury it under. The receipts show that the villain has lost everything, and there is nothing left to save. PK Kemsley is the architect of his own destruction, and the $20 million settlement is his legacy. The final realization for the audience is that the lifestyle they saw on screen was a complete fabrication. The luxury cars were leased, and the designer clothes were bought on credit that was never meant to be repaid. The forensic audit proves that the Kemsley brand was a hollow shell designed to attract investors who didn't know any better. The truth is that PK was using the show to find his next victims, while the casinos were already closing in on him. The documents show that he was terrified of this leak because he knew it would end his ability to manipulate people. Now that the receipts are public, he has nowhere left to hide and no one left to con. The total career meltdown is complete, and the villain is standing in the wreckage he created. The $20 million settlement clause is the final word on the career of PK Kemsley, and it says that he is a failure. The truth is finally out, and it is more shocking than anyone could have imagined. The end of this story is not a happy one for the man who thought he could gamble with other people's lives. The forensic evidence has shown that PK Kemsley is a man who valued fame over integrity and wealth over honesty. The leaked documents have stripped away his dignity and left him with nothing but the debt he can never escape. The receipts show that he spent his entire life trying to be someone he was not, and he lost his soul in the process. The truth is that the $20 million was the price of his vanity, and he paid it with his future. The documents prove that the house always wins, especially when the player is as desperate as PK Kemsley. The villain has been unmasked, and the world is finally watching the real show, which is the total collapse of a fraud. The cost of his lies is $20 million and a lifetime of regret that he earned through his own deceit. PK Kemsley is finished, and the truth is the only thing left standing in the ruins of his empire.